The story begins in a Siberian prison where people from different nations are held, trapped in a place almost impossible to escape. The camp is surrounded by endless snow and thick forests stretching for miles. After World War II, the Soviets captured thousands of people and forced them to dig and work in coal mines day and night. The prison itself isn't heavily guarded, but no one dares to run because beyond those fences lies an ocean of snow and cold that kills faster than bullets. That frozen wasteland is so vast and empty that no one can survive outside. Among these prisoners is a Polish officer named Janusz. He's accused of crimes he never committed and refuses to sign a false confession. The interrogators bring his wife in, tortured and terrified. Through tears, she's forced to say her husband is a spy and hates the Communist Party. Janusz instantly understands she was beaten into saying it, but his fate is sealed. Based on that forced statement, he's sentenced to 20 years in a Siberian labor camp. One day, the prison head tells everyone that Siberia itself is their jail. Even if someone escapes the camp, the locals will hunt them down for money. Later, while standing in the food line, Janusz gives his portion to an old starving man. Another prisoner, Mr. Smith, warns him that kindness only gets people killed here and that the guards will reduce his rations if he keeps sharing. Soon, Janusz meets a man named Cabero, a former actor. Cabero explains he was imprisoned just for playing a rich man in a film. When Janusz asks if there's any way out, Cabero says there's none. Anyone who tries will die. The next day, while cutting wood in the forest, Janusz quietly studies the surroundings, trying to find weak spots. That evening, Cabero surprises him by revealing he's been planning to escape and just needed someone brave enough to join him. He explains that if they travel south for about 500 kilometers to a big lake called Bol, they'll reach the Trans-Siberian Railway. Crossing it would lead them to Mongolia and freedom. But he insists they must wait until winter ends and that they'll need to collect food for the long journey. Every day, they stash away scraps of food. Later, while working in the coal mines, Janusz nearly collapses from exhaustion and starts hallucinating, imagining his home. A guard almost shoots him, but Mr. Smith pulls him back to safety. Janusz shares Cabero's escape plan with Smith, who laughs and says Cabero never intended to leave. He manipulates newcomers. Smith offers to escape with Janusz instead, saying he trusts him because he still has a bit of humanity left. One night, a massive snowstorm hits. Janusz thinks it's the perfect time to run. Snow will hide their tracks. Cabero disagrees, saying they're not ready, but a tough Russian criminal named Valka overhears and demands to join them. Janusz agrees. That night, Janusz, Smith, Valka, and 7 others cut the generator's power, giving them 10 minutes of darkness. They slice through the fence and bolt into the forest. When the guards realize what's happening, they unleash dogs, but the storm quickly buries all tracks. The icy wind makes it hard to move, yet Valka's knife helps them strip bark from trees to cover their faces. By dawn, they're far away from the camp. They sit together, counting their food, barely enough for a few weeks, then move south again. They travel mostly at night, resting in forests. One night, while collecting wood, a boy named Kazik, who can't see in the dark, gets lost. By morning, they find him frozen stiff. Janusz quietly says that today, a free man has died. They bury him and move on. Days pass and food runs out. They survive on insects and bird eggs, wandering aimlessly after losing their sense of direction. They should have reached Bol Lake a week ago, but they're still far away. One night, they hear wolves devouring something nearby. Desperate, they chase the wolves off and eat what's left of the animal. The next morning, Janusz volunteers to continue alone to find the lake. He promises that if he doesn't return in a week, they should assume he's dead. 3 days later, exhausted but alive, he sees Bol Lake stretching ahead. He returns with good news. It's only a day away. The group cares for him, and as soon as he recovers, they start moving toward the lake. Along the way, they notice a girl following them. She says she's been on the run from the Russians and hasn't eaten in days. Janusz wants to help her, but the others, scared of starving themselves, refuse. They leave her behind and keep moving. When they finally reach Bol Lake, they see a deer trapped in a swamp. They kill the deer and eat it, which keeps them alive for a few days. That night, Voss shows up with the same girl they had seen before. They share their food with her and let her join them. Her name is Irina. The next morning, they bathe in the lake, wash their clothes, and continue walking. As days pass, Irina starts to feel like part of the group. After traveling for several days, they finally reach the Trans-Siberian Railway. From here, it would take them about 5 or 6 days to reach the Mongolian border. Since the railway is busy during the day, they decide to cross it at night. When darkness falls, they start heading toward Mongolia. But along the way, Valka tells Janusz that he won't continue any further. As a Russian, crossing the border would be too dangerous for him. Janusz nods, shakes his hand, and says goodbye before leading the others onward. When they finally reach the Mongolian border, they see a huge picture of Stalin hanging there. That's when they realize Mongolia is now under Soviet control, meaning they risked their lives for nothing. Mongolia isn't safe either. Janusz suggests they keep moving, this time toward India by crossing Tibet. He explains that India, under British rule, might give them the safety they've been searching for. But to get there, they'll need to cross the towering Himalayas. Even with that daunting thought, they choose freedom and keep walking. Their path takes them across the endless Gobi Desert. Step by step, under the scorching sun, their courage is tested. They eat bugs, birds, or whatever comes their way just to survive. They soak bits of fabric with what tiny drops of water they have left, licking it to wet their throats. To block the blazing sun, they wrap themselves with their dusty clothes. But soon, even that little water runs out. While walking, Mr. Smith spots something in the distance, shapes that look like trees. He believes there must be water there. Janusz insists it's a mirage, but Smith doesn't listen and heads east. Luckily he's right. They find a small well filled with water. Overjoyed, they drink until their thirst is gone. Some of them want to rest at the spot for a few days, but Janusz reminds them that water alone won't keep them alive. They need food too. Staying put will only make them weaker. The next morning, they fill every container they have and move on. Each day grows harder than the last. Then, without warning, a huge sandstorm hits. The group huddles for cover, barely surviving as most of their water spills and is lost. Still, they don't stop. Irina, exhausted, collapses mid-step but forces herself up to keep walking. Soon after, her legs swell so badly that she falls again, this time for good. Despite their best efforts, she doesn't make it. They quietly bury her before moving on. Days later, another companion, Thomas, dies. Only 4 remain. Weak, starving, and fading in spirit, they push through the desert. One night, Mr. Smith says he can't take another step. Janusz reminds him of his son, how the Russians took his life years ago, and tells him they can't stop now. Those words reignite Smith's will to live. Together, they press on. After a few more days, they find a small pond and even kill a snake to eat. It's a small victory that keeps them going. Eventually, they reach the Great Wall of China. But they can't pass through. The war between China and Japan has the area locked down. Their only choice is to climb the icy Himalayas toward Tibet. The bitter wind cuts their faces, but they don't stop. After a long, painful climb, they reach a monastery where monks warmly welcome them, offering food and a place to rest. One monk tells them that the path to India goes through Sikkim, but they should wait because a snowstorm could hit any time. Even then, Janusz insists on leaving right away. Before they depart, Mr. Smith tells him that he'll head to Lhasa and then China, where American troops are stationed. He wants to contact them and find a way back to the US. The next day, Janusz and the remaining 2 companions continue their journey through the deadly cold. After some time, they finally reach Sikkim, where local villagers help them. Years later, it's revealed that Janusz couldn't return to Poland for nearly 50 years because it was still under communist rule. Only in 1989, when his country regained freedom, does he go home. He sees the same scene from his dreams. His house, the snow, and the stone near the door. He lifts the stone, takes out the old key, and opens the door. Inside, his wife waits, now aged and frail. When they see each other, they embrace with tears and silence. The film ends there. If you like the story, don't forget to like and subscribe for more.